In today's episode on the Jetson Bolt Pro, I'm going to show you how to add a thumb throttle to this bike. This is the folding electric bike from Costco, now costs $349. It used to cost $299. I've been getting a lot of requests, and some of these are emergency requests for me to figure out how to add this thumb throttle to this bike, because unfortunately there has been some accidents where you accidentally twisted the throttle and then the bike just goes, and this could be problematic, especially for older folks or children who are barely learning how to ride a bike, and you have this electric bike for them. So I purchased this thumb throttle from Amazon, and then it took me a while to figure out the wirings because there's so many wirings inside the controller. So to figure out which one exactly is the throttle, you don't really have any diagram. Jetson doesn't put any wiring diagrams of the bike, so I had to do a lot of trial and error to really figure out which one is connecting to the throttle. And it's not just one wire, there's like 3 or 4 wires that go to the throttle, and the color coding is all messed up. So it took me a long time to really figure it out by so many trials and errors. Be like, okay, is this the power for the throttle? Is this the signal for the throttle? With me figuring all of those wirings out and to take out the throttle, put it back in, turn off the connection to the throttle, and all of that, I hope this installation isn't gonna be too bad for you, even if you don't have any experience dealing with wirings and whatnot. I'm gonna try to make it as easy as possible for you all so you can follow everything that I am doing. First, you are going to need a thumb throttle. This is what the picture looks like. This is from Amazon. I'm gonna put a link below so you can just go directly to the link and purchase one. Next, you are going to need some Allen wrenches of varying size. You're going to need a 5mm, you're going to need a 3mm, and then you are also going to need a 2mm Allen wrenches. So make sure you have those tools, and I'm going to put a link below for one of these sets where you can get all of these Allen wrenches. They are fairly inexpensive. Next, you are going to need some wire strippers / wire splicers. We're going to be splicing some wires, and don't worry, I don't think it's going to be too bad. We're just going to need to cut the throttle wire and then splice them together, and then put it all together. So wire splicer, very important. You are also going to need a Phillips head screwdriver to open this controller housing. You are going to need pairs of scissors, some electric tape, if you have those, if you don't want to solder or use the method that I'm gonna show you. I think you can get away with just using electrical tape, plus for some wire routing you might want some electrical tape. And then these are the solder seal wire connectors. These connectors you shouldn't need to solder. This have some melting solder that are already in place where you can just put those wires together inside this jacket, and then you can just use a heat tool to melt those, and then those connect. Can you just use a regular solder? Yes, you can. Of course you can. If you feel comfortable doing that, if you have the knowledge and expertise of using a soldering iron, you can do that and don't have to buy this. But my intention and goal in this channel is to make it as easy for you as possible, so that you shouldn't need a lot of technical knowledge to do this. You can just follow along on what I am doing, and you should be good to go. And then finally, you're gonna need a heat tool such as this. Hair dryer works totally fine for this application to melt that solder in place. It is way different than a soldering iron because that is a little bit of a pain. But if you have never used a soldering iron, this should be good to go for y'all. Let's get started with today's video. But before we do that, as you know, it takes a lot of time and effort to make these videos. I have to really figure it out, and it takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of resources. So all I am requesting is please support my channel in any ways you can. Just share my videos with your friends and families. Hit a like for this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification, comment anything in the comment section. Even if you don't have any questions to ask, just let me know how I'm doing in the channel, any feedback that you might have, and I will incorporate those feedbacks in my future videos. So you can add this throttle either to the right or left. You can just move this bell a little bit and add to the left. It might be easier for you. Right here, I have to just push it here, and then if I want to turn on the cruise control, I would have to push and then push this button here. It's not too bad, but my preference would be to have this throttle on the right side, but some people might want it on the left side. So it's up to you. It's the exact same process, whichever side you want. This is what the throttle looks like. Here is your thumb control right here, and this is where the battery voltage is going to be shown. And at the end, there is 4 wires. There's a black one, there's a green one, and there's a red one, as well as there's a yellow one. Yours is gonna have a little pin connection. Mine doesn't because I cut it earlier. I was trying this out. You're gonna have to cut yours too because there is no pin connection that fits inside this bike. If you see here with this throttle, there's not anything that just kind of clips out, so we can just clip it in. It's not as easy. So what we gotta do is slide this in here through the handlebar to reach here, but it can't just go in like this. We're gonna have to remove this assembly and then this brake assembly as well so that we can slide it all the way here. We can't fit anything in between here because then the brake would be weird. The handlebar would extend a little bit, but then you might not be able to reach the brake from this side. So we're gonna have to remove this brake assembly, remove this throttle assembly, slide this in, and then put it all back together. Don't worry, I don't think it's gonna be really hard. I will show you step by step and I'll try to make it as easy as possible. Before you remove the throttle and the brake assembly, you're gonna wanna remove this wire ties. And the reason for that is because we're gonna wanna fish the cable a little bit more because these cables are tight that they might not clear this direction. So you're gonna wanna remove this and you're gonna wanna do the same thing here. So remove this wire ties as well. Before we move forward with the rest of this upgrade, you're gonna wanna open your controller housing. And I'm not gonna provide step by step on how to do this. I have a whole bunch of videos in my channel. I'm gonna link one of them on how to open this housing and reach your battery. So mine is already open. It looks like this. And my housing is gonna be slightly different than yours because I'm in the middle of another repair slash upgrade. So I'm trying to figure out what each of these cables do. So it's gonna look slightly different than mine, but everything else is the same. All the wirings are the same. I just took it apart. You're gonna have some zip ties, cut those so that all the wires are free because we're gonna wanna push some of these wires from the bottom and pull it from the top so that we have enough wires to work with on the top. First thing you want to do is disconnect your battery. It is going to look something like this, XT60. So disconnect your battery and then locate a wire harness that has 6 cables. Not the 5 cable one. There's another one somewhere here with 5 cables that goes to the motor. So you don't want to do that one, but there is 6 cables and this is what the cables look like. There's black, green, red, again black, orange, blue on this side, on the black side, and on the white side there is black, blue, red, white, yellow, and kind of a maroon slash gray. So this is the harness you want to locate. Again, mine are cut because I am trying to figure out which wire does what and also which the throttle wires are and which the battery indication wire is here. So mine are all cut. Yours is going to be solid. You don't have to cut those yet. What you want to do is grab that wire harness and kind of push it through this hole here and make it loose, and then go over here and grab the biggest cable. This is the cable, and then when you pull it, as you see, this cable starts moving. So pull it, there you go. So give yourself enough room here because we're going to want to pull it all the way from the top so that we have enough slack. And at the end of the repair, we are going to just put this down and give the controller enough slack that it needs here with the wiring. So temporarily, we're gonna wanna pull it out. So you're gonna take your 5mm Allen wrench and then go over here and unscrew this one. You can remove this screw altogether. So now what you want to do is slide this a little bit down, and you see there's a set screw right here. You're going to take your 2mm Allen wrench. So grab your 2mm Allen wrench and then unscrew this. So loosen this. Just loosen this a little bit more, and you don't have to do it too much either because now this is loose. Since we already loosened all the screws here, what we want to do is pull this cable, since we feed it through from the bottom, pull this cable as much as we can so that it will clear. All we got to do is just pull this outside. So, and it comes right out. This is your cruise control, this is your battery indication, so that comes right out. You are going to align, there's a slit here and there's a slit on this right here. Now you are going to bring this connection and then make sure all of the slits are in one place. So you see there's a cutting here, there's a cutting here, there's a cutting here. So it all aligns. And to make this easier, we're actually going to rotate this, all right, and then push it this way. You just want to pull this out, and then what you got to do is, you see right here, there's this drum for your brake, and you just, if you align it properly, it just comes out. So the brake cable is now out. Now it's much easier for us to just pull this out, because this cable should be loose enough. If it is not, do the same thing like what you did with your throttle, and your brake assembly is out. Now you can see the bare rod for your steering wheel. Now we're going to put in our new throttle up to here and then put this all back together. Grab your new thumb throttle and use a 3mm Allen wrench and loosen this screw right here so that this part expands a little bit and it fits well. And you don't have to take this one out either. Just loosen it so that it can slide in. Now take this end, the metal end, and push it through. And now we're gonna put our brakes in the same way it came out. Just slide it in, and we're gonna put our brake lines. We're gonna take this drum and put it into this slit right here. Then it clicks like that and it stays in place. And now we want to apply as if we're applying the brake. We're gonna slide this in so it goes inside here, right here, and we want to make sure that all of the slits are aligned, and just pull it. Now we're going to install the throttle, the original throttle / handlebar, and probably be somewhere here where it used to be. And what we're going to do is slide this brake just a little bit so that we can make this straight and tighten this set screw using our 2mm Allen wrench. We're going to take our 2mm Allen wrench and then just tighten this part. Now this one is strong here. What we're going to do is take the 5mm screw that we took out earlier from the bottom of the brake, and now we're going to put it in. Now we're going to take our 3mm Allen wrench and just go tighten this set screw here. Now all we got to do is fit this cable back in so that we have enough room in the controller. So we're just going to feed it through here. Now this becomes a wire fishing job until we reach the controller again. So they give you a decent amount of cable, and you can try to use like a tracer wire like this to go in through here and pull the cable. I'm not gonna do that. I have other things to worry about at this point. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna use some zip ties to connect this, and then from here I'm potentially going to use a tracer wire to get to this hole here and then go in. But to show you all right now, I am just going to use some electrical tape to show you, and then later I might fix the cables. So we have routed the cable from the throttle here, and as I told you earlier, we're gonna wanna find this wire harness that has all of these cables. So what you want to do is the black one is your ground, this blue one is your signal for the throttle, this red one is the power for the throttle, and then this gray maroon looking one is the battery voltage connector. So This 3 cables on the top, the black, blue, and red, you're gonna wanna disconnect it from the main throttle because you don't want the main throttle to be working anymore. You just want the thumb throttle to be working. So we're gonna disconnect it now. But this one, this maroon one, you want that to be still connected to the battery voltage indicator to see how many bars that you have, because you don't want this to go away. Even though there is a voltage indicator on your new throttle, the other battery indicator where it shows 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar, that's more intuitive, so you want to still use that. So we want to make sure that this stays intact at all times, and then this yellow and white, those are your cruise control wires, so we got to make sure that this stay intact as well. So let's begin with this 3. Make sure your battery is already disconnected, and let's go ahead and connect these 3 wires, which are, as I said, the black on your throttle wire goes to black, the red goes to red, and then this green one goes to this blue one here. So let's go ahead and get those connected, and we'll use that tool to solder them in place. Alright, slight change of plans. You actually do need this red and this black cable connection. You just have to terminate this blue one. I thought those were all throttle assemblies, so it shouldn't matter, but if you want that battery level indicator, you are going to need to connect this black and red one to the new throttle and keep the existing connections intact. Again, you don't need this blue wire, so terminate it and then tuck it in this main cable, but the rest of the wires have to be connected. So let's make sure all of those wires are connected. Let's test our throttle, let's test our battery indicator, and then we'll be good to go. To test this, we're gonna have to connect the battery, make sure the power is off, and then connect the battery cable. Now let's try on the power and then the throttle as well as the battery level indicator. So let's turn the power on, and we saw that the battery level indicator is on, and then right here it is showing you that the battery has 40.8 volts. So that is great. The full charge is around 41 volts, so this indicator versus this battery level is pretty accurate. Now let's try it out. First, let's tilt the bike on this axis, and let's try the actual throttle, okay? I'm twisting the throttle. You don't hear anything because it's not rotating. So that is a good sign that this throttle does not work. What about this throttle? Now I'm going to twist it, and you start hearing it because the wheels are rotating. Let it go. It stops. Again, it's going, and I'm just using the throttle here. We're going to take this red connection that they send, and this one is for 22 to 18 AWG, but we're going to try to make this work. We're going to take that small side. Normally what happens is you put cable from each side, and then they have this little solder connection in the very center that melts with the heat tool, and then it connects them together. But in our case, let's try something different because that traditional method, it might still pluck out. And you just want to make this connection really tight here so that this one is really to hold it in place and not necessarily to connect this cable. So let's go ahead and start with this black cable, and let's use the smaller side of the tube and then feed this through here. Right, so it goes through, feed it across that red wrap, and then get it to this solder where your wire is at the solder. So now we're going to activate our heat. We're just going to use our heat gun, heat this part first so that it shrinks and holds everything in place, and then we're going to try to melt this solder here. So let's heat it here. So as you can see, it's shrinking. Really securing that piece here. Now let's hit the solder. You can see it melting. And you're gonna do it uniformly across. Yeah, I see the solder melting. Let's take a look at it. Looks like it did a pretty good job. It melted here, and then the cable should be connected. Let's see if it works when we try it later. I think this method really works. My angle is a little weird, so I had to do it from this side, but when you're doing it, just give yourself enough room to go around and do this uniformly. Let's go ahead and do the same connector for all the wires that need 3 wires. So that would be this red one, and then this maroon one and black one. And then we're gonna use a smaller connector for the ones that need the 2-wire connection. So I've gone ahead and put all the connectors here. I haven't used the heat tool yet on all of them because I'm gonna take this apart. I'm in the middle of another upgrade, so I'm gonna take this apart after this video. If I were you, I would probably make my cut for the connection somewhere here so it's not too tight over here and all in one place. So probably splice your wire somewhere here so that it would be easier for you to do all of this. It gets a little crowded here. I did this short because I didn't know how much cable length that I had. But now you know that there's a lot of cable length here. Maybe do your connection somewhere here and tuck it away. Now we are pretty much done. That is all the connections that you're gonna need. And now let me test it, try the cruise control button to make sure it still works, show you all that it works, and then we'll pack up for today. All right, let's power this up. Now you see that the battery level indicator as well as the voltage is showing, so that is working properly. Now let's twist the throttle to see if the wheels are rotating. And they are. Now let's try the cruise control. So while pushing it, press the cruise control, and the wheels are still rotating. Let's try our original throttle. Nope. It does not do anything while I'm twisting it, so that's a good sign. The original throttle does not work. Well, that will do it for today's video. That is how you add a thumb throttle. As I said before, you can put this on the right or left side depending on your preference and where you want that throttle to be. I hope it wasn't too difficult of an upgrade for this bike, and I hope this solves your issues and prevent future accidents, as I said. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you found it helpful. I really appreciate your time and support to my channel. Come back next week for another video where I show you how to add a switch to go between 2 batteries that I have been showing you in the previous videos. I've figured out a switch where you should be able to do that, and I'll show you step by step on how to do that, as well as how to add those 2 batteries in parallel. And you can pick and choose whichever option you want. So that video will be out next week. Come back for that video. Again, thank you very much for your support. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you and your family are staying safe and healthy. Namaste.